Welcome back to the Valley to Peak Nutrition Podcast. Today we have on Marshal Whitaker. Some of you, without even realizing, may have talked to Marshall before. Marshall actually works for Argali, who creates some of the best hunting and outdoor products on the market today, and has managed a number of different roles in that organization over the years. Marshall reached out at the end of last year with several very, very big goals and asked if I would be willing to help. I was, to be honest, going to be very surprised if he could accomplish these, but as you'll hear in his story, as the early months of 2026 ticked on, he continued to shock and impress me. And I think if he was honest, and you'll probably hear, shock and impress himself. He lost a significant amount of weight, signed up and completed his first ultra, and is currently, as we release this podcast in May, prepping for his first bodybuilding competition. So the entire theme of this isn't just some sort of weight loss story, although all of those are pretty remarkable in my opinion. It's a masterclass in perseverance, surprising dedication, and him going from something he never saw possible to literally living it out. He shares with us a number of tips, tricks, and lessons that he has learned along the way. And as you'll hear, this is only part of the story. We will have him back at the end of his competition in June, but he lays some really good groundwork and foundation for that leading into this. All right, man. Well, a great place to always start, since you've listened to these, is just an introduction to who you are. I have a feeling that there are people who probably have talked to you and don't even realize it. You have a really good name, reputation within the industry, and of course the brand that you work with. But if you don't mind kind of introducing who you are, how you got interested in the outdoors, and what wound you up over at Arcali.
Yeah. My name is Marshall Whitaker. I work over here at Argali Outdoors. Started here about 3, 4 years ago. I kind of run operations, customer service, just help out anywhere. We're a small team, but I got interested in the outdoors. I did my first backpacking trip like my junior, senior year of high school with a couple of friends, and then I got into fighting fire, and I was like, "This is cool." Went to college and kinda walked away from it and didn't spend much time outside, and then came to realize somewhere through there, like, this is what I wanna do. I was in college, I'd, like, look for opportunity to get out, go skiing, and do things like that, and then I really kinda got into, like, shoot, I really love that backpacking aspect, and so I got into backpack hunting, and then the guys that took me on my first backpacking trip took me on my first elk hunt, and the only way they hunt is backpacking. And so it was like, oh, this is how you do it. You sleep under a tarp. You don't use a tent. You don't use a like I hardly ever use a dome tent. And so learning from them, that was like my teacher. And so got into it. And then there's like this natural transition coming from Eastern Oregon, hearing about Cam Haines. And so endurance ultras and things like that, just always kind of thinking about it. And so he was like one of those people you're like, "Oh, I wonder what it'd be like to be in that kind of shape." And so that's where my thought of running comes from, but that wasn't I didn't just start running. I was talking to my wife about it, and there was a day specifically, I remember I was sitting on the couch and I didn't love my job. We were living in Twin Falls, and I she was like, "Hey, you need to do something different, like, change it up." And so I signed up for my first half marathon, went and bought a pair of shoes, went for a run, and then just since then have always kinda looked at what's the next race gonna be, and then eventually climbed into, to just completing my first 50K. So,
That's awesome. Yeah. So it seems like it always transpires in that way, right? Like people who end up falling in love with something and sort of become known for something never really set out as that being the goal. It's just this iterative thing that unfolds over time. But that's awesome. So was your first backpack elk hunt over in Eastern Oregon?
yeah, yeah, it was. So it was actually my senior year of high school. My buddy's dad was like, "Do you wanna go elk hunt?" And I was like, "Yeah." And so I bought my tag, to shoot my grandpa's bow, switched from a right-handed to a left-handed bow because I, just needed like an adult sized bow and I was left eye dominant. So it just worked out. Learned to shoot left-handed. And then, he took me, didn't take my friend wasn't with me. It was just me and my buddy's dad. And we went for a backpack elk hunt, 3 days. And, I had my first encounter with elk bugling and I had my first bull, that I didn't have a rangefinder. I was wearing camo, jeans because, like, I wanted camo, but went to Walmart, found some camo jeans, and, I think I was using one of their JanSport backpack frames at the time. Like, it was just like, ragtag, here you go, and, had a bullet. Now I know 35, 40 yards, I definitely coulda taken him at his broadside, but no rangefinder. Like, I was just, like, ugly kinda kidda stuff, and I was like, "He's 85 yards away, he's never coming," and then completely blew it up because that was my first time ever elk hunting, and the guy that I was with was calm behind me, so he couldn't watch it happen, but I'll forever
Uh,
remember that bull. He's just, like, in my mind walking across, like, and I'm just sit there full draw like, "He's too far, he needs to come closer."
yeah, you are from an area that my wife is from, and my first experience was identical to that with my father-in-law, and I mean, clearly, I must have been head over heels with it because
Yeah.
it's a pretty special thing. That's awesome. All right, so what I want to cover today, I've kind of broken down into really three parts because your story is very unique, as we'll kind of unfold as this goes on. So first, I'd like to just get some background from you on what initially made you reach out because you'd had some prior experience with like working with someone, trying to work on your nutrition, etc. You'd had some knowledge, but you reached out. So I want to go back to kind of what caused that. Second is I want to talk about the stretch of time between November and when you ran this ultra, what you worked on, what your focus was, what was hard, what was easier than you thought. And then third, like your story doesn't really stop there. And you have bigger goals as the summer is in front of us. When we're recording this, it's April 1st. But you have bigger goals that are even still yet to come. So I'd love to get some ideas on where you came up with those as well and what your plan is between now and then. So going back to the second part of that, what made you initially think, I'd like to get a deeper level of my understanding on how nutrition works?
Yeah. So, I don't know if I wanna spill the beans on my goals for the year, I guess, but I think that I think I was probably at the gym on in November sometime, getting my lift in for the day, and I was thinking like, "Dude, I there's no way you can run a 50K and lose weight, but then also go in and then shred a whole bunch of weight to go do this body comp." This is like my second part or it's one of my second tests. So I was realizing like, one, how do you lose weight while running for this 50K? Because I have worked with somebody in the past and we were primarily working on like, my main goal for that, we were training for marathon and had him as a coach, and it was like performance, which was a good point. But I realize now, like after working with you, I was like, I was eating too much. Like, I could have eaten less, lost more weight, and performed better than maintaining a certain calorie level and then being able to perform higher because I was more fueled. So I was just eating too much, and, like, I lost weight during that, getting ready for that marathon, but I didn't drop the weight that would've made me even more efficient or more effective racing. And so I think the goal with that coach, he was, like, trying to help me be performance based, and I was like, "Hey, I should've," I just didn't know that, like, I was eating too much, and so that, um, that realization is come to me past, like, it just came to me recently. So when I was sitting there at the gym, I was like, "Man, how am I going to crush a 50K?" And the one thing I've always kinda had in my mind is, like, I can suffer through the 50K. Doesn't matter what I weigh. But I also then wanna go on and be as low as weight as I can ever be this year. 2026 is the year I wanna, like, drop weight and be in this healthy weight, and I've been looking at that, like, I've had different seasons in my past. I was going through my camera roll last night, going through, like, different photos, like, oh, I set my screensaver to, embrace the suck, or I set my screensaver to, like, you're gonna weigh 200 pounds this year, like, you're gonna do all these things, and it was just this cycle of, like, drop weight, hunt great, had a good time, get to Christmas, throw all the weight back on, start a new goal in January. It's just like this pitiful, like, just cycle, and so I come to realize I was like, I gotta work with somebody who's gonna help me. Like, I gotta go to somebody who's gonna actually help me, and we have a mutual friend, Josh Kuntz, and he's like, probably one of the first times he met me, love Josh, he's like, Marshall, if you ever want to work on losing weight or anything, you should talk to Kyle, which I don't think he meant in a negative way, but he was just saying like Kyle runs a great program and he'll help you get squared away. And so um, I was sitting there, I was like, I got to just like swallow the pride and just be like, the only way that this is going to happen is if I have somebody to kind of hold my hand. And then I didn't realize how much I was going to learn in this process, but I've learned so much. But then I was like, that decision was like, swallow your pride, go to somebody who's going to help you and hold you accountable. And like, and that's the only way it would be successful. Like I'm super coachable. I feel like I'm super coachable. And so I always played team sports and then to that's kind of the step I needed. So that's why I reached out to you, Kyle. I was sitting there in the gym bench, like fill out the form, and then I don't know if I probably emailed you or you had your email from Argali stuff, but I was just like, "No, I should fill out the form, do it the right way." So,
Here's what I've got on your application.
oh
So
yeah, yeah, I forgot about that.
when this came in, I think I was at my computer. It was like towards the end of the day, around the holidays. And there's a question on the form that says, "What exactly are your goals? Be as specific as possible." I'm planning to run a 50K on March 14th and then go into a bodybuilding competition on June 27th. I will then try to get into backpack hunting shape before the season begins. So I'm looking at this and I don't even know who it is at this point. And I'm thinking, wow, either this guy's delusional, ambitious, or a combination of both. But
Yeah,
I'm going to reach out to him and kind of see what he's interested in. And when we set that first phone call up, and of course I emailed you and we chatted on the phone, and you kind of went through that. I could just tell that you were genuinely, I don't want to say motivated, but you really seemed like this was something important to you. You didn't, like I wouldn't use all the cliche terms that you usually hear on podcasts of, no, you had this fire in you. Like you didn't portray this overzealous, keep hammering, whatever mantra. You just genuinely seemed like this was something that you were both wanted and willing to commit to. And I mean, I will tell you that, what is this, April? 5 months after 5 months? Is that what it's been?
yeah. I mean, I was
Five
gonna
months?
say it's like might be four. Like, I can't remember exactly when we started talking, but it's been like, probably been 4 or 5 months since I sent that
4 or
form.
5 months, you have certainly shown that true to form. I'm curious because you referenced this a little bit ago. You said, "I had no clue what I would learn through the process." So I have 2 questions based off of that. Number 1, when we first met and you knew that we were agreeable to this and we wanted to do it, what did you think I would tell you? And then second to that, the what's been the most shocking piece of information that you've learned since you've started, that you feel like has really just been this main theme that you've tried to pay attention to?
Yeah. So, what I thought you were gonna tell me was, uh, they're gonna be like, "Hey, you eat bad food, stop doing that, and, like, here's salads and super healthy stuff." Like, I mean, naturally, I have a lot of fairly decent red meat in the fridge, or freezer, so, like, he's like, "Here's elk meat, and here's rice, and here's, lettuce, and, like, stop eating, negative in that way." And it wasn't like, my brain was like, "Okay, that's what I need. I need my coach to tell me, eat this stuff, and that's how I'm gonna be better." What I've actually learned is, like, food is a whole thing, and you have to, like, dissect it, and you can look at your day as, like, "Oh, I have these calories, but I need to spend it like, I need carbs, I need fats, I need proteins." And the thing that's been, like, this such a learning curve to me is, like, I can lose weight in this deficit, but still be full. And like I'm currently what I probably would assume is a deficit to like most people, especially my size. And like I'm feeling full every day. I'm eating food. I'm eating good food. Like I had a sandwich with cheese and grilled onions on it today for lunch, and it fits my macros, and it was fantastic. But I would have never thought that that's what I could do and lose weight the way I have, or I mean, even perform the way I have because of I've been working out and running, and it feels like I don't feel fatigued. I thought I would always feel fatigued. I thought I would, be hungry all the time. And so I think like, my understanding of food has changed a lot, and I think it's just, like the other part that I definitely think I have had issues with in the past is a volume thing, like, That was one of the podcasts I was just listening to yours where you're talking about, like, the problem most people probably have is it's how much food and not the quality, like, it's not the type of food that they're eating, it's eating too much of it, and so portioning out stuff and, like, looking at, "Oh, 150 grams of potatoes is a great serving of air fried french fries," and let me tell you, I crush those a lot because they are great. They're great macros, and they taste awesome, but they're, like, not bad calorically, like, it just I didn't know that. I didn't know that until I started working with you, and it wasn't, um that's, like, one of the most learning experiences, like, "Oh, you can have fun with this, you can have good food," um, and, like, yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
I remember the first conversation we had, and you know, kind of highlighting the work that you had done with, your past experience, and you'd seen some success, but a major point of frustration that it sounded like it was for you, and feel free to tell me if I'm wrong, because this is a major point of frustration for a lot of people, is you felt like you were pretty good to go as long as what was on your list of things that you could eat was basically rice or chicken or elk meat, and that was it. You weren't really sure though, like if you wanted to branch out outside of that, which any human being would, you weren't really sure how to do that, right? Like how that works to where you could branch outside of that, and not eat that same menu, get some variety, but still be as on point as you were. So I think that through our conversations, I know through our conversations, like you begin to get a really, really good understanding of that. And to your credit, and to kind of what you're even saying right now, everywhere that our calories come from those different food groups, macros, yield some sort of a benefit. And you did a phenomenal job of really making sure that you allocated certain portions to those macros so that you reaped the benefits. So when you were training for the ultra, what was sort of I guess, what was your thought process in thinking how you would lay that meal plan out? Because you had two things going, and this, we may have not even said this yet. You were training for an ultra, increasing mileage, trying to hit times, trying not to lose cutoffs while trying to lose weight, which are, basically things that you will hear most often cannot coexist at the same time, but you've clearly proven that they have. So as you were going through your day to day or your week, what was your idea? What was your strategy? What was your thinking in terms of when you woke up? What were you trying to execute per meal basis to ensure that you were getting both of those? Because 'Cause they're two very conflicting goals.
Yeah. So, I mean, training for the ultra, like, there's the training part and the food part, and the part that I feel like I had locked in going into that was the training part. Like, I know I can make myself run, and so, that was kinda always, like, the thing I fell back on. Like, I'd wake up in the morning, and if I didn't run in the morning, I was like, I'm gonna run before I go to bed, like, I'm gonna get my run in, and so that part thankfully wasn't a big mental toll on me, but then it took the rest of me for me to, like, focus in on food. And I kinda, one of the things I'm sure we consistently look back at my fitness pal and looked at and been like, "Marshall eats protein, no problem, but sometimes he struggles to get his carbs or he doesn't get his fats." So, the carbs were a big struggle during the 50K, training phase because I was so nervous about carbs, man. I was just like, "No, I can only eat meat and these things," and so, you're like, "You need to eat carbs because 'cause you're running a lot and you need this energy." So I was like, "Okay, listen to my coach," and you gave me a lot of, like you're like, "You can eat a bagel," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, so I can get bagels." And so, one of the things I found that really helped me is, like, I create a breakfast, like a breakfast, it's either 1 or 2 breakfasts that can go back and forth. And so during the 50K, eating a lot of carbs, it was like, and it's even now, I've just changed the macro. So I just edit it a little bit, but yogurt with granola and a bagel that got me the carbs I was looking for. Or I would do toast with egg whites, egg, and then potatoes. Like Walmart has the potatoes O'Brien. It's like the only thing, if you go to the frozen section, it only has like 3 ingredients and it's like potatoes, peppers, onions. And you're like, oh. yeah, why doesn't the rest of the frozen potatoes have it? And they have all the other starches and stuff and to make them, tastier. But I was like, okay, this caloric profile, the macro profile on this is great. The volume's great. I can take this, fry it, throw in some egg whites, and it makes like a plate of food that looks great. And so then there's like still a part of me is like, oh, a whole plate of food, like this is awesome. And so I like locked in really hard on breakfasts and make that every morning. So either that or yogurt and granola and just, weigh that out. And then Sundays, I started trying really hard to either meal prep Sunday for a couple nights or Monday evenings. I would also meal prep because Mondays were like a rest day from running. But that was one of the things that I found really successful for a wife and I because you're training for an ultra. If you're like lifting, I was lifting 3 days a week and then running 5 to 6 days a week. You're busy. You're really busy. I, like, calculated my peak week, and I think I had, like, 9 hours of running that week, just running, and then I had 3 workouts that I did on top of that, and I was like, "Man, outside of working, like, how do you do that?" And so, meal prepping on Sundays, and that was where I played with calories, and I started to understand, like, "Oh, this is where I could get my carbs for this meal, or this is where I could get um, you know, my protein," and I was like, "I actually don't need that much protein into this meal because I'm overpacking the protein, like, I have pasta that has protein in it, and I'm trying to put 8 ounces of elk meat on top of it." I'm like, "No, eat more tomato sauce and more noodles," and so, that was a game of, like, just playing with ratios, but I wouldn't have thought that unless you were like, "Hey, it's eat some spaghetti and, put some more noodles, and you don't need as much elk meat," and I was like, "Oh, yeah."
What was there in your mind, like, was there a ratio that you found to work the best for you to find this balance between making some progress to get your weight to where you wanted to be before the ultra without losing any ground, any recovery, any performance or whatever when it came to your training?
Yeah, I think, like, whatever we worked on for that macro profile that I was running in, I never really once felt overly tired, and part of that is, like, I think in general, I felt way better than I normally ever feel, and it's funny to talk to people about that. If you've ever been, like, really overweight, like, I mean, I've lost 35 pounds with Kyle since I started working with Kyle, but I've been heavier than that a long time, a lot of times, and so, um, I'd still run at that weight and you just feel terrible, and I'd eat crappy food, and I work through that, and so the thing I'd realized now is, like, when I'm eating good and I was still losing weight, I still had the energy or I just felt better than I've ever felt in the past, and so it was like might be a tough, comparison for me because like, I had been running I know I probably ran a half marathon at 2:55, where now I'm running, 30-mile weeks at 2:25, and I was like, "Whoa, this feels way easier," and doesn't really matter, like and the food I was taking in was also just better for me in general, and so it's like all those things kinda compiled, and it made it feel easier, I don't know.
And that was my next question is, in spite of being in the deficit, did you feel better? Because like, obviously part of the like, when we first meet, I like to get an idea of what a person's usually doing, not to condemn them, just to kind of know what they're starting with, and so we have a good idea of where to go from. In I'm apprehensive to use this term, but the quality of what you were eating improved tenfold. I mean, you
Oh,
just
so fast.
did you notice did you feel different in spite of being in a deficit? Because when people think of a deficit, it's like just this abhorrent, misery. But did you notice a difference just by virtue of what you started eating and how you started eating differently?
Yeah, 100%. Like one of my main goals, like I still haven't eaten McDonald's in like 2 years now, which I think is like for me truly is like a success. But I when we started working together, stopped eating Subway. And I hadn't stopped. A classic for me was like some people might find this crazy, but the sushi rolls at Albertsons or Fred Meyer, I could go smash 2 or 3 of those. And if you look the calorie count on one of those, that's 1,000, 2,000 calories in sushi like that. And I was like, "Oh, it's not enough food. You gotta eat 3 of these to really make a meal." And so you just go from eating that to like, hey, you're gonna eat an apple with a snack. Like I was telling you, I had that 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock is like a binge moment for me. Like I need some sort of food because it's like throughout the day I'll get tired. And so you're like, well, smash an apple or a yogurt and something like that. And so I started to do that, implement meals, and just like eating food that you cook helps, I feel like, a lot with weight loss. I must be a key component, but I stopped eating out as much. If I did eat out, it was usually higher quality because now I'm like, I'm tracking my calories, and so it's hard to like eat, a quadruple cheeseburger, which would have been like, my In-N-Out order. I haven't been In-N-Out in a while, but if I were to go to In-N-Out, I'd eat like 2 or 3 of the doubles, lettuce protein style, but I'd eat 2 or 3 of those, and now I'd be like, "Ah, that wouldn't sit well in my stomach." And so I was completely fine before working with you, like, eating food that would just tear me up, like, just not feel good, sluggish. um there was, like, I would eat like that and then go make myself run. Like, I'd go for a 5-mile run, and now I was eating, a balanced meal. Maybe I didn't have that much, broccoli or something. I had straight up, like, noodles with meat sauce, or noodles with spaghetti sauce and elk meat, but, even that is, like, such a higher tier than eating a couple In-N-Out burgers and then going for a 5 mile run, so I just felt so much better. Like, wasn't eating food that made me feel bad.
Yeah, and that was something else that I remember a lot about the first 5 months, and I mean, you're still in it. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but it's very easy to think that th there I don't wanna say this. It's very easy to think that the progress and the results are as simple as 4 numbers, calories, and then the 3 macros. But a lot of what we worked on was, like, the food volume, the distribution. You were eating, like, a good pre-run snack in cereal, but
Mhm.
the volume was so high that you didn't feel good on your run, so you had to then find something with less volume because obviously cereal with a liquid like milk tends to be higher volume than something different. And you said this in your application, and boy, is it ring true for you. You said, "I think that I am coachable, and I think that I do really well being coached," and you do. I mean, you've done phenomenal, and that is a credit to you. Like, I may be able to give you some advice, but um, the ability to go do that advice and then take it and translate it into what it means for incorporating into your life with your wife. And because you guys still went to dinner sometimes, you went to a few, dates. This was all during show season. I mean, you talk about trying to manage a nutrition plan in some of the most challenging periods of travel and different holidays and dates. This was it. And you did it. And that's my hat is just absolutely off to you for that. I think that's amazing.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I remember there's you my check-in one of my check-in questions is always like, "How am I gonna survive Sheep Show?" or "How am I gonna survive Western Hunt Expo?" Where I'm gonna be gone for 4 days eating out every night because they're like, we're staying at a hotel or Airbnb, and then, like, what am I gonna pack to a show where I'm gonna be on my feet for 10 to 12 hours throughout that day? Like, I could bring my breakfast, I could bring the thing I've always been eating for breakfast, but, like, how am I gonna manage the rest of this? And
I'd
they're
see
like,
you
"It's okay. It's okay. We're gonna get through this."
and I'd see you every day at noon walking the hallway above the expo eating your sandwich, man. And I was proud of you.
Yeah,
You did
appreciate that,
phenomenal.
yeah.
So tell me, I'd love how'd the ultra go?
The ultra was awesome, man. It was a great experience. So I ran the Rocket Chuck race. I actually have the sweatshirt on. But, yeah, so it was in, outside of Sacramento in a town called, Forest Hill, California. It's part of the Western States 100 course. So if you're familiar with, like, ultra running in the United States, the Western States is a big, big race. And so it was a pretty small turnout. I think there was only like 53 participants that actually made it to the race. And I signed up with a buddy, that I was super stoked to get to go run with. He hadn't gotten as much running in as I had. He's one of those guys that's got the right mindset. When you show up to the start line, he's like, "We're just gonna go until we find out what that feels like." And so, um, it was a pretty intense race. You mean 50 Ks, 30 miles, 31 miles. And it had 6,000 over 6,500 feet elevation gain throughout that course. And so that was, I mean, talking about elevation, and then, obviously working with you, started to look at fueling for that race. And so, one of my favorite things to tell people, Kyle, is like, "Oh yeah, no, on my training runs, I eat mashed potatoes out of a little instant baggie," and people are like, "You do what?" And then I took a friend on a run, like I was on a longer run, picked him up, ran with him, dropped him off, and then continued running. But he watched me eat serving him instant mashed potatoes out of a bag, and he was unsure.
Aren't they good though? Do you like them?
Oh yeah, I love it. It's my favorite.
Oh man, it's so much better than all the like sweet stuff. And I mean, I've had some people like, oh, I tried it, I couldn't do it. Some people can't bring themselves to do it. But I'm so glad to hear that you like those because I still feel like if given the option, that is probably one of my favorites.
Oh, dude, with the salt too, like, it was
Yeah.
really early in the race stage for me to hit the instant mashed potatoes, because then I was like, I don't have to really think about, like, taking in,
Yeah. 800
sugar.
milligrams of salt, great carb intake, easy to digest, simple to mix. Like, what's not to love? They're wonderful.
They were awesome. Yeah, so I mean, my whole vest was loaded with, different stuff, and I had quite a different fuel sources. That was one of the other things we talked about, is, like, diversifying the fuel sources so you don't get tired of it. I probably wouldn't wanna eat, like, if I were hiking, it'd be a different story to sit there and eat mashed potatoes the whole time. But running, like, we did run a majority of the race. I will say that part was exciting to me. It's like we ran a lot more of steady inclines than I thought we were gonna run, and then, like, there's parts of the race you have to obviously walk, and then you start just hauling butt downhill. But, the race was great. Yeah, it took us 6 hours and 40 minutes. We finished, like, mid-pack, which is, I thought, the cap was 9 hours. So, obviously, a guy who's never run an ultra, like, your first start is like, "Will I finish before the cutoffs?" I was like, "Well, I can probably manage this." And then I was like, "Okay, so an hour before that's 8 hours. Am I gonna finish in 7 to 8 hours?" And then, like, we were hauling a really pretty decent time for probably too long, but we kinda got out hot, and you start with, like, 1,000-foot drop, and so you just all of a sudden bomb, like, a 8:30 mile because 'cause you're going downhill, and you're like, "Alright, we got 29 more, but we'll just buckle in." So it was an awesome race, and it was fun to go do. And then the other thing was, it was warm, so that was, like, the one thing we got fried, like, because it was March, but March in California at 74, 75 degrees on our way back.
Well,
Um,
I was pumped for you. I knew that that was a major goal of yours in terms of, like far as, running a certain distance and being further than you've ran. I knew that you really wanted to be at a specific weight prior to the run, which you absolutely smashed the deadline on and achieved that plus some. So yeah, you did a phenomenal job, man. And I was more than happy for you.
yeah, appreciate it. I was like, I didn't know it was gonna be possible to hit, like, so, I mean, let people know I was 235 when we started working with Kyle. I was actually like 240 probably, but, you give yourself the benefit of the doubt. So then I was, and I was like 215 to the race, sounds awesome. And then I think I was like 208, 210 or something like that, probably 208, and ran it and was like, "Oh, running's a lot easier at this weight." Especially all my training, my mileage just started getting faster and faster and faster, and I was like, "Oh, man." So that was really cool. But yeah, without you, I wouldn't have been where I was at, or where I'm at now. I know I wouldn't be.
So where are you at now? Like you that's part one. You did a phenomenal job on part one. We're entering part two. Where are you at now? And then the second part of that question would be what have we changed? What have you changed? What's changed with maybe nutrition and your training as you go from crushing the first goal, running this ultra, to now getting ready for a bodybuilding competition in June.
Yeah. So, big gear change, big switch. Um, yeah, I'm basically a little over 2 weeks off from the 50K. The calorie macro breakdown is completely switched, and so now we're got more of an emphasis on making sure I hit my protein goals, and then dropping the carbs. And so I'm starting a not that I haven't been in a deficit before, but now I'm in a deficit without training, without running. My training switched to now I'm lifting 5 days a week and really trying to get dialed into bodybuilding physique. Currently, I am 202. I was my weigh-in, and so 202, which is crazy. Like I haven't been that since it has to be my senior year of high school. I think 210. I've been really hard to like think about this. I remember vividly in my junior year, I hit like 180 because I was doing a weight loss competition in high school, and then something happened. I think we lost in the state tournament, and I ate pizza. And just I just fell off. And then since then, I never really started getting back into it. And I think I graduated probably 210, and then got to college and just blew up. Automatic ice cream machine. College was terrible, but so to be back to 202, I don't know the last time for sure I was this weight, but the goal, is 185 or lower, depending on what the body can do and what just get down as low as body fat as possible and just kinda give myself the shredded look. Um,
Well, if this trajectory continues, it will be wherever you want it to be, lower than 185. But yeah, things will change now. And so, like, as you've started to transition into this, we've changed the macros up a little bit because you're not expending quite as much energy. You're lifting quite a bit more, lower intensity cardio. So I'm just really I'm excited for you because you will accomplish both goals. I have zero question. So I'm looking forward to it, man.
yeah, me too. I'm bummed I'm not running as much because I felt like I got really fast there. I think that's probably the biggest bite. And you're like, "Oh, man, I was, like, running good," but I'm like we were talking earlier before we started, it's like, I'm excited to just accept, like, this is the phase I'm in, and, I'm like, "Let's love it and
You
chase it for what
think,
it is."
but think how many people cannot think how many people cannot say that they ran an ultra and did a bodybuilding competition within 4 or 5 months of each other. Most people probably wouldn't even think that's possible.
Yeah.
You're doing it. I just think that that's awesome that, like you're going to be able to put that down on your resume of things that you've done. And I think that that's cool. To me, what it shows is more than anything is it shows that you have the ability to, and you will appreciate this because you sort of work in this industry too. Everyone talks about mental toughness all the time, right?
Mhm.
And they give all of these silly ways to go develop mental toughness. You are exhibiting what that looks like in that you're doing things that you don't necessarily want to do on days you don't necessarily want to do them. You put a thing in your check in, I think it was even today, where you've noticed a little bit of hunger cues popping up since we've changed things, but you are embracing the fact that that is just part of this process. It's not like a state that you've got to live in. But those are the things that I've learned over the years develops that quote mental toughness, whatever that is you just get in such a routine of doing things you don't really feel like or want to go do. And after so long, it doesn't really matter what the situation is. That's just the direction your brain goes, which is we don't really want to, but we know he's going to do it. So we might as well just go and quit having conversations with ourselves about it. So I am, it's been truly my joy to get to work with you and get to watch this. And so thank you for being, just an awesome, awesome person to work with and so dedicated. And I'm excited to see what the next couple months hold.
Yeah, me too. It's gonna be a little wild ride, but I'm really ready to buckle in the last 3 of, like, it's gonna feel like the true suck part, but I think that's, yeah, that's we'll see what happens, man. That's what I'm excited for.
If people want to reach out to you for tips, advice, encouragement, whatever, where do you prefer they do that?
Well, I'm real hit or miss on Instagram. Find that that's a good time suck for me, so I will constantly have it deleted, but, and give him my Argali email, Marshall with 1 L, so Marshal at argalioutdoors.com, and shoot me an email. I'm quick to respond, and so, yeah, I'd love to chat with you. if you're bored, call Argali. You probably a good chance you get me. So, um,
And I will link that in the show notes too. So if people just want to scroll down there and find it, they can do that.
yeah, yeah. You can
Thank
give
you,
my
man.
Instagram is the word double W, but there's like a good chance I'm on or off it. So
I'll
I might.
I'll link it too so they can go back because I think you posted something about the ultra, so people like
Yeah,
looking at that stuff.
I
So I
I
will.
I I I do funny things where I like think of like the race and I was like, I re-downloaded Instagram to post like that story about the race and then re-deleted Instagram because I didn't want to get stuck
Yeah,
sitting
I
on
like.
Instagram.
That's good. I will. I'll link both of those in the show notes for anybody that wants to check them out, and we will definitely have you back after the bodybuilding competition to hear how that went and to hear just how the phases of your journey went. At that point, we will either be in or working towards maintenance. That's a different beast in and of itself, and so it'll give us some more good stuff to talk about. But we'll have you back for sure.
Awesome. Well, I'm stoked to do it, and thank you so much for having me on, Kyle, and thanks for being my coach. It's been a fun start, and I'm excited for this middle chunk, I guess you'd call it.
Me too, man. Huge thanks to Marshall for coming on and sharing a bit of his story. And you heard much of his contact information. If you want to reach out to him, you can do so. I will link all of that in the show notes. You'll see some other information in the show notes, some resources from us. And if this was helpful to you or you feel like it would be helpful to someone else, we encourage you to share that with them as well. We will be back again in another couple of weeks with more new episodes. And as always, if you have questions you want us to cover, topics you want to hear about, please send those over to us at info@v2pnutrition.com, and we will be sure to go through them. Have a great week, everyone.